we go.
Nice.
Okay, welcome everybody.
Good to be here.
Let's take attendance to make sure that we have a quorum. Why don't we go around the room? I'm Martha McEntee. I'm the chair of the committee.
Herb Moyer.
Bob Glocking, staff rep or person.
Molly Cowan, select board member, and I'm sorry I got your last name wrong. But I said McEntee, but it's McEntee?
It's McEntee, like mac and
McEntee.
cheese, but
McEntee.
McEntee.
Got it.
Exactly, right.
Won't mess it up again.
Okay, well, thank you. Don't worry about it. Okay, so unfortunately, Lisa emailed me and said that she couldn't make it today, but we have a quorum anyway. So the first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which, believe it or not, was back in April of last year. I'm grateful that you could all be here because it would have been really, really embarrassing if we hadn't had a meeting in a year. So did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes?
I don't think I was there, but I'm happy to vote on them if we.
No,
you all.
Nancy was in attendance at that meeting.
I think I looked at them. They looked good. I probably helped to draft them, so
I probably
I'll trust my own.
way
Right.
back when, but I don't remember.
You were there, Herb. You want to take a minute to look at them?
Yes, and thank you. I have been, the whole family, everybody's sick, but it has been brutal these past couple of days. So thank you for your flexibility moving it.
Thank you for coming.
This is, I think we can I think we've done a lot of good listening and good work together to sort of understand what we don't want to be. And I think we can put some stuff in place of what kinds of communications we can drive.
Good. Yeah, one of the things that Bob mentioned is the possibility of adjusting the meeting time to accommodate anybody's interest, so we can think about that too.
Looks fine to me.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes from April 4th, 2024?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, their motion is passed and the minutes are approved. Okay, Bob, our next item is the Media Communications Coordinator Report.
Alrighty, exciting. Not a whole lot to report on. We're continuing to do the email newsletter. It seems to be pretty successful. Our open rate's still, between 80 and 90%
That's
sometimes,
huge.
which is pretty big. I think it dropped down a bit on some of them to maybe 60, but that's still really good. The click rate's not as good. Maybe it's like half that, but if 800 people click on or open it, or 600 people open it, maybe we get like 100 clicks or something like that. So it's pretty good and much better than like what we had before, which was pretty like nothing. So
Can you explain what a click-through rate means?
yeah, so like when someone opens it, that's like the open rate. So it counts when someone opens it, and then in the email we have links, and we can see which links they clicked, and how many times they opened it, and who opened it, and all this kind of stuff. So you can see which we subscribe to all town staff emails to it, so that kind of inflated our numbers a little bit. But it's also good to see okay, town staff are opening the emails and reading it to learn what other departments are doing, so that's good. But click rate is actual, you got them to open the email, but also do an action of going to another thing. How long they stayed on that other site, that's another analytic we'd have to look into, but we want to increase that click rate somehow, so that people, whether by making the buttons more interesting looking or saying a different kind of caption to get someone to click on it, because that's where the information that we really want them to see is going to be.
Maybe a little quiz about something about a previous newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
Indicate
Yeah, could look into that for sure. But But yeah, it seems to be going pretty good. Gabe's done those for me when I'm out on vacation, so I think we send at least 25 or 26 of those out a year. And that doesn't include sometimes like the following Monday we send a reminder out. We sent one-off ones about like the election's 1 week away, or what else did we do? Some meetings that were big, we kind of just promoted those. So we have this avenue now. I think since its inception, Parks and Rec also is using the same platform, and they're sending out emails to a bunch of different lists. Public Works has stopped their list and just works with me to include it in the one we're already doing to kind of make sure that stuff's getting out. So I think that's working well. On the social media side, Planning and Sustainability Office has kind of consolidated some of the Facebook pages that were underneath that, like their control through Kristen Murphy, the Natural Resource and Sustainability Planner. I think the Energy Committee and the Concom pages were merged into like Exeter, New Hampshire Planning and Sustainability, so that way they can share stuff from like Sustainability Committee, Energy Committee, all those kind of things. So I think it's better, less pages to look after, which is good. And I've worked with Trisha Allen in Public Works and Kristen Murphy in the Planning Department to move those town pages and Instagram pages under like what's called a business profile, so that it'll be much easier to like transfer ownership of those, and if staff leave or anything like that. And also like we can post on each other's things if we need to. Like I work with Trisha to draft a post with photos and text about the snowstorm, and she made some edits, I made some edits, and then I was actually the one to hit the post button. So it kind of helps when people don't have a lot of time. We can kind of step in and do that. We also have access to the fire department page. So I think eventually there should be one town account that has access to all the social media, or at least, the ones we, would want to make it easier for transferring it in the future if there's staff overchange, because that's happened with, committees long ago, or just, other groups I've been involved with, somebody leaves and they're the only one who has access, and Facebook makes it really hard to like get access to something that you don't have access to. You'd have to have like some really good records or paperwork or something. So anything we can do to help that is good. The TV stuff is going really well. I mean, since our last meeting, we've won, I think, 2 or 3 awards for the different videos we made. The public safety or the police station video we made won an award for like government content. I believe our report won something.
These are national awards.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
And Northeast regional ones as well. So we're going against like New York stations that have millions of dollars and stuff. And we were picked among the best. So it's
Very
really
exciting.
good. So the work that like the committee's done to kind of guide what we should be talking about or focusing on, and the work we've been doing with our staff, it's definitely paying off. And the staff is now, like other staff is buying into the report and contributing, and just this past weekend I spent 10 hours with Public Works, and they were gracious enough to just let me like shove a camera in their face and ride along in a plow truck for hours, asking a lot of dumb questions because I don't know anything about trucks or equipment of any kind, just to kind of like peel back that. So that's an example of, they're becoming more comfortable working with us, and because I think they're seeing the value. So that's good.
Is that going to be in the biweekly report?
Yep, it should be in the report this Friday. So that was I was there Saturday into Sunday until 1:30 in the morning. I went home, came back at 9:30, and the same guys who came in at 10 were still there. Just some of them had gone home, but most of them were just coming in, trading their trucks over to B shift, and then they hit the road as well. So
I think that's such an important function, because so many people don't understand like this is local government
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
And if you don't have this,
Yeah.
how do you go to church or go to the grocery store
Yeah.
or all of these?
Yeah, and I think like a lot of these people, like who are in the video, are like people's neighbors and stuff. But maybe they didn't really know what they do, and I
In
didn't
the
know
middle
either
of the
what these
night.
people did because many of them are not from the highway department. They are in like water and sewer department or parks and rec, and they still chip in to do these shifts, and
Yeah.
maintenance staff are there the whole time as well. So
When it's 10 degrees and terrible wind.
yeah. But they do get people bringing them cookies and chili and other stuff, so there's good community members out there helping out, which is nice to see.
Wow.
So yeah, that was good, and I think we want to try to do more videos like that, showing how the town does stuff, and peeling back the curtain, I guess, on certain things, and also in the process you get to meet some of the faces, and some of them have really good stories, and when we approach something like that, we do photo and videos. So now we have photos for the next snowstorm they can use to make better social media posts, like stay off the roads, all those the kind of things we want to do. So just getting a lot of content. I think between photos and videos, I got like 800, shots from that one night. So
Wow.
a lot of stuff to go through.
Any mailboxes clipped?
No mailboxes when I was there,
Yeah.
but a lot of equipment breaks down, and because that's just what happens when you're out there plowing, and the maintenance guys were busy and are still busy, probably right now, prepping stuff for the storm tonight. So it's definitely interesting to see, what goes into it, and like the staffing and equipment. Like they prep this whole giant garage full of pickup trucks, plow trucks, loaders, and all these other things. So. Definitely impressive. So
My kids would have been obsessed if this had been available like 10 years ago. They would have just been riveting.
and that's what like I was telling the guys, like it's just awakening the little boy in me or something of like all these big trucks, like because it's pretty cool riding along in there. So we'll be doing more stuff like that. The website seems to be doing pretty good. We are in the process of talking with our current web provider about the future of our website. They're trying to move us onto a new platform. It was something unanticipated, so we're going to be working to evaluate, do we need a different web provider or go with the same web provider. But basically the platform that our website goes on, the current web provider is no longer going to be using that platform soon. They don't have a really timeline, but eventually, like we'd have to move to a new platform of some kind, or the back end of our site is out of date by 3 or 4 versions.
Will that require retraining of the staff?
Yeah, it would require a little bit of retraining and funding. So we're looking into what that would be. It was kind of like unexpected, but they have like 1,000 clients. They're looking to move to a new website because basically this one company, we have bought up every other website company out there, and that does municipal websites. So
Yeah.
I would say 98% of town websites in New Hampshire are this one company.
What's the name of the company again?
Civic Plus.
Yeah.
They bought out MuniCode, which previously was like AHA
Right, I
Consulting or
remember.
something. So.
And what's the timing on that?
They don't even have a timeline. They're just saying like, you might want to look into buying our new platform because eventually we're going to turn it off. So we're looking into that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very, very unexpected. So I'm going to be probably reaching out to some other communities too and see what their plans are because they're probably in a similar boat. So yeah, very, very
That's
interesting.
not good news.
Yeah, I can say from a content perspective, our website's been really good.
Yeah.
We're keeping it updated, getting fresh content on there, rotating through the homepage. So I think it's been working, but
It's been
we
really
have
good.
some work to do on the back end to kind of see what options we have.
Yeah, it's not great once the staff has gotten used to using this one. It's
Yeah.
not fun. to have
Change
to
is always
switch
residents
over.
don't like it, we don't like it, but it might be needed, and maybe there'll be some new functionality that we get in a new site that would make it better. And it's a time every time you redo something like this, it's a time to look at what's stale, don't copy that over, and what can we do better. So there may be silver lining there.
any idea about the cost impact of that?
Not really at the moment. They gave like really wild like ranges. So it really depends on all the bells and whistles that you want to get versus what we have now and things like that. So
Wow.
yeah, so that'll be interesting. And then yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I've been working on. We have a little bit of staff changes at the TV station. Since your last meeting, Gabe is full-time. So we have one full-time media technician. We still have a part-time position that does 25 hours and another position that can, like on-call, that can do up to 10. So Gabe's been already assisting with communication stuff, especially when I'm out. So we have that continuity, which we didn't necessarily have before, so that's good.
He's great.
So, and we don't anticipate any big changes there with staffing or anything TV related going forward, at least for this year. So, so yeah, I don't know if you guys had any questions about any of this stuff we were doing, or
What kind of analytics do you use to measure reach or success?
we look at like views as like the knee-jerk thing of like, oh wow, we got so many views, which one video that Gabe did, a community piece about if you saw the one with a 101-year-old dancing, like I think it's had like tens of thousands of views. It might even be approaching 100,000 views, which is like very impressive.
It was
that it's getting out there.
It was
going viral. So I mean that's something we look back as that means like, okay, it's getting out there. Gabe just sent 48,000 views, so there we go.
Listening in.
Yeah, so that's one thing we look at. I like to look at watch time, average watch time, because that's, or like retention is what they sometimes call it. So if we have like a report and it has 200 views, and like but 50% of the people got to the end, that's 100 people who watched 10 to 15 minutes of stuff. So hopefully those 100 people are going to be more engaged and informed and stuff. So
and can you sort of like geo-target? So do you understand, like, are people in Exeter consuming Exeter
I think
content?
it does show, some of them shows, Facebook especially shows where it usually it's just like states or countries. There's some rough like age and gender data that I don't think is like good enough to actually tell me like, is this accurate or not? But I mean, generally speaking, it is like New Hampshire, Exeter. Sometimes you can see like the surrounding towns, and then there'll be like random things like some random country, and it's like maybe someone who used to live here or something like that. So.
Some random country, like what do you mean random country?
I don't know, like Slovakia or something. My in-laws would be watching my programs. Who knows? So yeah, I mean, we look at that. We can also look at engagement, like, shares, number of comments, that kind of stuff. On Facebook, you can also see like click-through rates as well. MailChimp gives a lot more like data that I would care about, like in terms of the click rates to the pages that we want people to go look at. Especially like, with election or something, like we mail out the fact sheet or the town warrant, like how many people actually clicked on the town warrant fact sheet. Did they read it? I don't know. I'd have to look at our Google Analytics, which we don't really spend too much time on, to see like how much time they're spending on a certain page, but there is a lot of data out there.
There is a lot of data.
Yeah, and we don't
Drown in it.
Yeah, we don't like spend a whole lot of time on that. But we do try to, if we see something that's like getting no views, maybe we're not going to spend a lot of time doing things like that in the future. But it's really hard because you might spend a lot of time on one video and it gets like 20 views, and then something like I just did a Facebook Live of the webcam during a snowstorm and it's like blowing up. It's like it's tough to see what people will reach onto. And people might click on something, read it, and not comment or share or like. So it's, not always a complete science. But I mean, it's something I want to look into. How can we use that data more to inform like how we should do things? We do that a lot with our videos, I think. We try to shift, with the report, we try to shift the thumbnails we're using, captions, the order of the videos, because we can actually see like they jumped ahead to this video and they skipped over this one, so maybe they're not watching that. What can we do differently with that video, or do a different kind of video? Or,
Is there a way to see in those little, I don't know what you call the little things at the bottom of the video where you can, the segments?
Yep.
Is there a way that if you put your cursor over the segment, you can see what the topic is?
Yeah, that's how it is. If you're on a computer, even on a TV, if you're watching, or on your phone, it will say what topic it is.
Mine doesn't.
Yeah, you have to like with the remote. Everyone has a different remote, but if you hit like up on the remote, it should show like just like if you were gonna skip forward or backwards. If you went up or something, it would show you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
On a computer, you can hit.
What do I hit to do that?
Can bring it up and Gabe can cut to this.
Sweater just.
Sponsored by LL Bean. No.
Yes.
This one doesn't have, if I go to YouTube, actually, you can see it a lot better.
The deliberative session.
So, whoops, no thanks. So if you click this, it will just show you all the chapters here, so you can skip to them.
What did you click to show?
This little arrow here. So if I closed out of it and it just went back to your normal suggested videos, you can click this, and it'll show all the things
I never
there.
knew that.
You can also do that by, clicking in the description. That's how we actually make these. We just write in the description and it automatically generates it. So
See, I never knew that.
we do that for select board meetings as well. We did it for the deliberative session, so you can skip to the one article you want to talk about.
Well, I never skip anything, but
that's good. Good viewer.
I would like to have. I never knew that before.
But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff on here. So
I usually watch the whole thing anyway, Bob.
So that's good to hear.
Well, it's my job.
So yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
But yeah, it's a good question about what we're using for that.
Huh, okay. Interesting. I'm still amazed at how many people I speak to who aren't aware of that, of the biweekly newsletter. And I forward it to them, I tell them how to sign up for it, and then 2 months later, they say, how do you get that thing? I don't know how to do that.
Yep.
And I don't know how we can spread the word more, or maybe it's just hopeless.
Yeah, I'm hoping we have like a teeny bit of a marketing budget we could use to do either stuff like Facebook boosting, like sign up for it. There is a concern that we don't want to like act too much like a business. Like I would love to be like, do a ad on Facebook that says, enter into sign up for our email newsletter and we'll pick a subscriber to win a $100 gift card to, some local business or something.
Right.
And then we do those sweepstakes and giveaways. That's what Chris Sigmont was talking about. That's what like businesses will do to, get people interested. And I've signed up for so many newsletters, put my email in and have a million emails in my inbox because it's like, oh, you could win a bicycle or you could win this or that.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of stuff will get people to do it. But, we're a town. Should we be operating like that? I don't know. But there's other things we could do, flyers around town more and, the boosting Facebook posts will, even if they never interact with us, it kind of forces it on their feed. So there's different things, but that's where I think we're struggling. Like, it's amazing to me that like, people don't know that we have all these options because like I never heard about it. Well, we have all these different things you could do. So
yeah.
Is there any funding to actually create that bi-weekly news report, newsletter physically and put it into some buildings in town?
The way we're doing it now, it's not really like written articles, so it probably wouldn't work out. To do something like that is definitely possible, but like other towns that are like a third of the size, I want to say it was like between 6 and I'm guessing with post-COVID prices and everything, it would be like $10,000 a year for a town. That's like if you were printing it and mailing it to every resident with 5,000 residents.
Oh, you might have done.
Because I don't know if Brentwood doesn't do that, but Rye does that. They just mail it to every resident, a monthly newsletter. So, we'd need to spend like $30,000 to do something like that. You could print them, but then would people come and pick them up? I don't know.
Well, some of the shops would agree the the Water Street Bookstore, we
Yeah.
probably agree to have a pile there.
Yeah.
There might be a middle
Restaurants.
ground, though, of just having posters with a QR code that people could use. I think more and more people have gotten used to a QR code. And just, you hold your phone up to the QR code at Water Street Bookstore or the coffee shop or Me and
Yeah.
Ollie's, hold up your phone to it and you get signed up automatically to receive the bi-weekly news report in your email.
Yeah, QR codes is something we're like actively looking at. There's right now there's a lot of like security risks with QR codes that from like the town is very concerned about.
Really?
Because like if we made a poster with a QR code,
Yeah.
some random person could print a QR code and like tape it over our QR code, and then instead of going to our email newsletter sign up page, it goes to a malware site which hacks their phone or something. And there's nothing we could do to prevent that. It'd be up to like
Wow, I never
wherever
thought.
it is. So that's something to think about with QR codes. But then again, my personal opinion, QR codes are the present. They're not the future. So like they're everywhere. It's just kind of something you have to, as a user, like if you see like a nicely made poster and it's like a sticker of a QR code that you could just like peel off.
Beware.
Someone probably put that there.
Well,
The
for
bigger
not-
targets are like if you see like those Park Mobile things in paid parking in other cities or something, stuff that's not like in a shop where you'd have someone have to kind of sneak into the shop and mess with a poster, but out on the street, QR codes. But again, it's how big is the risk? I don't know.
Well, if we're not willing to do that, just posters
Yeah,
about it somewhere, a middle ground.
yeah,
Because I think that there's something to be said about old-fashioned physical communication that we're
Yeah.
not using. And you and I talked about this the other day. At the mill, all of the bulletin boards are going unused, and we could go around and put things up there. I've been really impressed with the publicity that Parks and Rec has been doing. I was thinking about just taking some of their things and putting them up at the bulletin boards around town. Their stuff is very, very good.
yeah. I mean, they make a lot of flyers and
Yeah.
they send them out digitally or have printed copies everywhere, and definitely are like their users definitely are engaged with it and see them because they're either going to the rec center or they're going to the events that they're
Because
doing.
they have a lot of physical traffic with all their
Yeah.
activities, so
Yeah.
it makes sense to do it that way.
And that's where it's just tricky with all the other, if you walk in the town clerk, you're brought, like there's so many flyers or signs, and then you're really just there to get some business done, and you probably got to
Right.
leave. So it's
Pay attention.
how can we do that? It is definitely something we should be, or you guys maybe want to look into. Is like what do other towns do to non-digital ways of reaching people? I know a lot of what we've done recently, especially around either election times or just big projects, is like actual meetings at large groups of people, like at the housing authority or the mills or Riverwoods and things like that. So maybe the town needs to look into like touring more outside of town facility meetings, like neighborhood meetings or something like that.
We can sit down and talk about how we can approach the mill management about using the bulletin boards better, if you'd like. That would be one idea. But that raises a question. Could we put things up at the election? Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah, I wanted to have a poster that was just like sign up to our email newsletter.
Yeah.
So it's something
Is that allowed?
I'll try to get printed for this year. I think I already had approval from the moderator to do that. We just didn't get around to posting it.
Yeah, I think
So
that,
like either at the entry or exit while you're waiting in line, you could just like. I wouldn't be concerned about a QR code in that instance because it's like
I think it's
yeah.
enough, right, there's enough like eyes on every time.
well, the
Yeah.
police are there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
Is there anything changed, just while we're talking about the election, I don't mean to deviate, but just for a minute, is there anything new at the town election this year that's different? That people might want to
in
know
terms of
about?
setup, I don't think so.
Same, okay.
Well, the setup, but also the voter registration piece is different.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. You mentioned
there-
that at a select board meeting.
Yeah, there are far fewer new registrants for town meeting, obviously, than for any other election. But now, if you are a new voter, so if you're not registered in Exeter, if you've been purged or whatever, you need documentary proof of citizenship in order to register to vote, which means your passport or your birth certificate or your naturalization.
Is Andy putting that up on the website for people? Are we publicizing that in advance?
I would assume it's already there.
Let's check. But yeah, I mean, again, it's not a how to register to vote, yeah.
But I'm sure it's not widely known, and a lot of people are trying to
Exactly.
register and don't have the documents with them.
Right, or they have,
Look, no, you just went,
No, I was just trying to see if she's usually, if they do some new thing, they. Yeah, this might be like general information, not really registering at the polls or something.
no, that's out of date, the citizenship thing.
it is,
Yeah, something new should be highlighted as new.
yeah, it is the most restrictive in the
Gotcha.
country.
I will make a note to follow up with that.
I'm having a nervous break.
We can't do that. We can control the things we can control. And this is one of them. We can help talk about.
Little ways, right?
Yeah, I'll look into that, see if there's,
Thanks.
if
That's
it
good.
was posted somewhere else and just wasn't
Right.
updated here. Yeah,
Yes.
usually with things like that, I wouldn't go in and make this change unless like I basically have
Oh,
the,
she's doing
them
good. She's been
drafted.
doing a great job.
yeah, they're getting all the
Really
information
has.
up there, so.
And she's had a lot of new staff and everything else. She's done very well.
So it was a good segue into town election stuff, so. Because that was, my report's pretty much over.
I did that by accident too. Well, I was just, I didn't go to the deliberative session. I meant to, but it was cold and I got up late that day and I meant to go show support for Bob and everybody who was there and you guys, but I'm sorry I didn't go. I
It's
apologize.
okay. That's when I came down with flu. So.
Is that right?
Did you go, Herb? Were you?
I was there, but
Yeah.
I don't know, there were 200 people there.
Not-
There was maybe 98, I counted at one point, so.
I know, I
Not
can't.
including like town staff.
Yeah.
Really? I guess, in the past, the communications committee has done summaries and other things to help inform voters about what's going on in the town election. And we haven't really felt the need to do that since the town manager has been writing these fact sheets and things like that in the last couple of years. But I was a little bit concerned this year because I've been getting some scuttlebutt from my own little view of the world that some people have been concerned about, especially some of the big ticket items. Well, I guess there's really only one really big ticket item, and wondering if people might need to have some more information about some of the items on the ballot than what they're getting. And I just wanted to throw the discussion open to whether or not we should have some more summaries, some videos, or some other things to inform people about more details about things. And in particular, the item that I was looking at was the drink water source, $6.8 million warrant article, which I just heard some people say, I'm not voting for something that's much. I don't understand why we're looking at that much money. And I'm wondering what is that all about? How is that going to be paid for? Where is that money coming from? What's the impact going to be on taxes? What's the impact going to be on water rates? And so on. So I just wanted to throw that out as something for the committee to discuss, whether it would be worthwhile seeing if the select board or the town manager or anybody else involved thought it was worth trying to provide more information for voters at this stage, or not.
I can speak to like what the plans are, what we are
Great.
going to do. So we have this fact sheet, which I will demonstrate where to find it for the viewers at home. You've cuts over to this view. So from the town website, you can either scroll to find the town warrant fact sheet right here, or you can go to elections,
Yeah, it's really easy to find, it's great.
town election, and then this is all the information you need. There's a video of the deliberative session, all the deliberative session info. The town warrant fact sheet is right here with the
It's very
PDF.
well set up.
And in here, there's paper copies in the town office, where you can reach out to town manager's office and they could get you one if you can't get access to it on the website for some reason. But it kind of has a general overview of the articles, and then each article one by one. So like the article, and then kind of as plain language as us town staff can write a description of the article. Some of them have more information, like the zoning ones either have a map, some include pictures.
Yeah, very good picture.
Some of them have detailed like financing information about, how the town is gonna fund this, because sometimes it can be confusing the way it's written in, legalese. There's reasons it has to be written that way on an article. So the plan is to make this more available through the email newsletter, and we'll do occasional social media posts of like, hey, if you're, trying to prepare for a town election, here's where you can find the information. Once the sample ballots are made, we'll upload those to the website, advertise that on social media and the newsletter. Like, you can see what the ballot will look like if you want to prepare for the 38 articles. It'll be long, but
Right, plus the school, plus
the school and the regional school, local school. I'll just further
it's
add.
Article 3, if you're.
Is the water one that you were mentioning, yeah.
Send it down.
And I think, I'll be working with the town manager's office, but the town manager I know and finance director, they're like open to chat with residents with questions that about the details on some of these, as they have done with other topics like the revow and other things. So I would just encourage people, it would involve it on their part. If they have questions, they can reach out and get the answers they need from talking to someone, because there are a lot of complex topics or funding things that even I, as someone who's worked for the town, don't understand unless I talk to some of these people and get a grasp for it. So, and maybe we'll even, promote that. Like, hey, if you have questions, ask. Here's how to, who to reach out to, which it may even say in the fact sheet somewhere.
That's a really good idea.
Because people who have done that, maybe they pick up the phone call annoyed or something, but when they hang up, they're like, okay, I at least understand or something.
That's a great idea.
And, people want the information now and all that stuff, but there is a benefit to talking through some of these more complex things. So if people are willing, I think that's a good way to approach some of these. We're going to try and make this stuff available. We'll be doing reminders about when the election is, the open times, how to register, which I think already the registration, I don't want to say it wrong, so I'm going to double check. If we go to government agendas and minutes and skip to the supervisors of the checklist, we can see when their session is. They are legally required to have a session when it's the last day possible to register to vote before any election, which is the Saturday, March 1st, is the last day to register to vote before the election. You can register at the polls on election day. The only place where you can't register is at deliberative session.
Can you scroll down?
Yep. And this is registration information if you're doing it here in the office, not what we were talking about earlier about it at the polls. So I'll definitely follow up with them about, that information. And Vicky Navoychek, hopefully I said her last name correctly, does a really good job at trying to communicate about that stuff and working with
best elections lawyer I've
people.
ever
So,
met.
I'll try to, maybe that's something we need to, just a quick reminder after this deadline is passed. Like, hey, if you missed the deadline, you can still vote. Here's how. That's the kind of messaging that we'll be putting out there, trying to just, make people aware of the election and where they can find all the information that's already available. We did that before the deliberative session. We sent all this info We also sent links to related videos, like a couple of the Pickpocket Dam presentations at the select board or river committee. We linked to those videos. We linked to BRC videos where these topics were discussed. So people, if they want to, they can go back and all the stuff's there. It is like in long meeting format, but for people who wanted to get those details, like the details are there. The town isn't hiding anything with that. So we kind of curated where the information is and sent that out. And the current plan right now, obviously, open to hear your guys' feedback if there was certain topics or something and how to go about that.
The website is really easy to navigate. I went through this yesterday. I was looking at it, and it's so easy to find the election stuff this year. I think that they've done a great job of making it accessible on the website.
It has not historically been the case.
It has not. It has not historically been the case, and I think you guys.
I think that the best change we made was I basically became designated to do the homepage, and so we had a set person who has to I go through every Monday and put relevant info on there, rather than multiple people fighting for real estate, because that way we can force the election information to be right there, right. So it's always there. Right. Which I think if you go to the homepage now, it is right there, and then we have the fact sheet here and. Other information will be rotated.
We need to get on that Hike Exeter challenge.
Yeah, I need to check that out as well.
Very, very exciting.
A lot of cool events going on.
Does the supervisor of the checklist create a list of people that get removed from the polls?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would assume they would know because they're the ones who have to remove them. Yeah. That's I think one of the reasons they have this deadline to register before any election, because they have to report registered voters to the state and things like that. I don't know if that has what the reasoning is with that, but there's a lot of laws that I wouldn't want to get into because I don't know what all of them are. But Vicky could definitely answer that question. And her email is really easy, soc@exeternh.gov. So if you have specific questions.
Yep.
She is one of the most knowledgeable people about election law I've ever met.
They usually send out notices when they remove you, or you're going to be removed. soc@exeternh.gov. So for supervisors of the checklist.
She is scary smart for that stuff.
Yeah. So hoping to do more videos with them in the future. I remember right before I came here, they did videos with her and Laura Bricker, where they were old-timey, news people on the street. Here, get your, register to vote type things or whatever. Great. So to get out that info, but we do usually post the notices of those meetings on social media, the newsletter, and they're already on the website. So we communicate when the last day to vote, register to vote in the offices. So, and we always promote that as ideally for the people coming in to vote, you'd want to do it here and then breeze through the election because it's a really smooth process if you're already registered to vote. So
you should have some sort of a sign with a standard there so that as people come in to vote, they know about the bi-weekly report.
Yeah, that's what we we're thinking. Maybe have some kind of poster that has, sign up for the email newsletter, and then we can have some other stuff on there follow us on social media.
And have it in more than one place.
Yeah.
And have it at the entrance, and absolutely more than one place.
We'll definitely draft something up.
For sure. Okay, so you're gonna be in touch about more whether or not you're gonna do more specific communications about.
Yeah, if there's things that we need
issues,
to
if you decide to do anything.
Chat about. Because I've reached out to kind of the department heads in town manager's office. We have 2 email newsletters and 2 video reports coming out before the election. So if there was something, there was an opportunity if between here and the election they hear more feedback that they should do something.
Gotcha.
But right now, at least the current plan is to point to what we have available.
Well, there is a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
How many more select board meetings are there? Good one. 2?
2? I think there's 2.
Okay.
The 18th and probably the 4th.
Yes.
Or the 3rd.
Good. Anything else on the town election anybody wants to talk about? Okay. So let's go on to talking about the committee work going forward. It sure would be nice if we could get some more members on the committee, so we could actually not struggle so much to have a quorum. News on that?
The other thing, which I just thought was odd, was that there's 4 voting members, so you have a weird 3-person. I don't know if that's normal, but
Right,
that's just something to think of.
We could always be at stalemate.
Yeah.
It would be so exciting if we had something controversial that we had a stalemate. I don't know if I could handle that.
I mean, I think the way that I think about it is if we had communications advisory committee meetings quarterly and the 4 of us got together and discussed things in public, that feels fine because I think that there's enough content generated because, you just heard my ideas, the sort of the cycle of how I want or how I imagine we can lift up the content, the educational opportunities that I think we have in terms of at least explaining to our constituents how everything is decided and then what portion actually isn't controlled by your local representatives that is in fact controlled by when you vote for, people who represent us in Concord. And so I think that is kind of fundamentally the difference. And I also think it impacts everything that we decide we have to communicate going forward. Because it's why do we have to make a decision about the dam? I want to be explaining that well in advance of here's a vote, here's why it's on the warrant. And I also want to do a lot of prep work on the front end and the back end of here's why we're having a reevaluation. It's not that all of a sudden we just want to spend more money. It's that we are required by law and we have to be in line in a certain sort of parallel. And I think it's going to be incumbent on town staff. I think that there's a lot of knowledge in the building. And then you, Bob, working together with your team can sort of compile interviews, and all of this stuff builds on each other. We've done a bunch of stuff already. One of the things that I think that would be really interesting is to have an assessment and understanding of how all of the ARPA funds were spent. What did we do with that? I think it would be interesting and cool, as you're driving around with people to say one of the reasons that we ask for new plows in the budget is because do you see how often here I am in this plow and it just broke down for the second time. I think that we can sort of tie a narrative together that shows local government working and solving problems and living up to its function and potential without sort of hammering people over the head and being don't you because it's the more that you show, the easier it is for people to understand. Oh yes, I need to vote to replace this truck because the one we have keeps breaking down and we don't have enough people to repair it, and then the roads get messier. Tying all of these things together and creating a narrative as we are going, having the, department heads, I almost call it agency presentations. My head is in the state budget, but that's not where we're talking about our town budget. And so, the other thing that I really want people to understand, which I don't think people understand, is your property taxes aren't going up because we're making stupid decisions. Your property taxes are going up because of things like what Martha just explained. And decision, because there is lack of funding that is coming this way from the state. So those are the things that I think our communications advisory committee can really help tell the story. And I think it's maybe having us have a presentation before the budget process even starts. to say like, what do we think, what are the needs of the town? And then we can put our heads together and say, okay, well, based on that, like we should probably, and I'm doing a look back now, but like part of the reason we need a new substation is because the fire trucks don't fit and there's the railroad crossing and the response time to the school. And so like, how do we start to tell that story of why we're having these kind of budgetary policy discussions in advance of making the proposal? And then on the flip side, being able to say, see, aren't you glad that government works? That's my idea.
Very important. Matter of fact, I don't know if it was the Washington Post or the New York Times, but they identified 11 people as experts in a field, and they did detailed stories about them and the work they do and problems that they solved. And one of them was a miner who, it was a wonderful story, and I followed a couple of them, but I didn't get all the people. But it was a great idea, and the whole point of it was to show how government works and the value and the importance of these things being done. It was a great idea. But you just like your good idea at this level.
And that kind of gets to like, I don't know if I mentioned this at our last meeting, because that was a while ago, but like we want to try to do like a loose like connection of videos called like Exeter 101, where it's just explaining different, like how we do that, how we tackle, a snowstorm, how your toilet gets flushed and what happens with it, things like that, because we can understand the systems, I guess, that the town has to operate in.
Right.
Then when, that jargon comes up about, a certain part of the system, maybe people are a bit more aware of its importance and how it works, rather than like waiting till the last possible minute to explain how something works. But that's a process that we have to start like today for 2026, because like the town sort of has an idea of what may be in play and like what are the town's priorities, and it all goes back to the master plan and stuff of like what's the future of the town. So how to tell the narrative, I guess.
But there's still going to be things that you can't anticipate. I mean, I can still remember when we had the meeting about the sewer siphon project.
Yeah.
And I watched people sort of wake up when Dan Chartrand said, the reason that we're spending all this money now is because we didn't spend it 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Or however many years ago it was. And he was very insistent, saying that we were engaging in a false economy by not spending it then. And people finally realized, oh, right, I get it.
What were you going to say, Herb?
I was going to ask you, because I have a distinct memory of being absolutely dumbfounded and shocked at the valuations for mobile homes. I thought those people got screwed so badly. And I don't know what your impression of it is, but I just think it's a tragedy.
What was that?
The valuations,
very high.
Much too high, I believed, much too high. And people that live there because they can't typically afford to buy
a stick-built house.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think, there is, we have to do the evaluation and the reevaluation by law, and we have to be within this amount of money. And it is something that is happening across the state. And it's one of those things where it's like, where do people think they're going to live?
Yeah.
And I also think it's something that we as a select board can't, like this is a statewide problem.
Sure.
And so how do we sort of tell the story, understand like where does the policy and who gets to decide? And there are actually very few things that, even though there are 38 articles, but it's all like roads and bridges and water and, and the local minutia that if it doesn't work, your life is pretty miserable actually. And then where do these other things that we have to deal with, but like we don't have control over who sets the reevaluation pieces. And so, one of the things that because I agree, it's out of alignment. And how do we fix it? But that's not something that we can fix.
Well, there has been, and I was involved in this in the time, this is back in the early 90s. Our town is relatively generous about elderly exemptions and other things. Other communities are not as generous as Exeter. And I think that was some way to provide some modification of that adjustment.
Yeah, well, we are, and there's a bunch of legislation in the State House right now that says, that would take away any kind of looking at income at all.
Oh, really?
Which is bananas to me, that we would just give a blanket exemption for an elderly exemption, no matter how much money you have or what kind of. But I agree. I mean, I think like we're going to narrow our tax base down to I'm thinking about it for myself because those are, there is no exemption that I qualify for. And so we're going to sort of like narrow it down to this really small pool of people who have this burden. And how do we offset, like, okay, if we say, all right, well, we're not giving these kind of exemptions because we have this evaluation piece that we have to make people whole, like where does the other money come from? And I think these are conversations that we can have as a community. But it's also, it's gonna be controversial.
Sure.
Which doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, but it's gonna be controversial. So that's what I would love. I would love a quarterly meeting where we sort of like, do both a look ahead and a look back to say, what are the things that we can look at? What happened in the election? Like, what does that mean beyond, this passed, this failed? It means like, okay, we're gonna drill down on, I was gonna say the drink, but like that's too on the nose. But maybe let's just use that example. Like we are gonna, we're gonna discuss this. We're gonna discuss what it means, and we're going to discuss like if you're on well water, it doesn't actually impact you, so you don't have to worry. Like if that's one of the things that you're thinking about. But also like why do we have to search for groundwater, and why do we have to like what are the steps that came before this? Because there was, in previous years that I've been on the select board, there's been like the exploratory studies and like how do we assess where we're going to do it. And we do all of these things in building blocks so that we're making smart decisions, so that we're getting people ready. And how do we kind of like connect the stories together so that we're saying like, remember when you voted on this groundwater exploration? Well, this is what it means. Like it wasn't just like, okay, like let's take a look around and find the groundwater. Then we did that because we need more water.
Yeah.
And so here.
And that's where like in retrospect, like I was supposed to go out and film like the testing in case we wanted to make a video about that. It like didn't work out for a bunch of different reasons, like availability and stuff. But like, could we have done a video of like following up, like, in 2024, we voted to do this, and the tests were positive, and now the next step is this other thing, without waiting until like now or something like that, but doing it as it happens. And that's where like we don't want to necessarily like be like news reporting on the town, but keeping updates in that sense of like following projects that people approved. Because even like I heard people or saw people on social media asking, how does the income from the solar array affect the taxes this year? And it's like, well, the solar array is not turned on or plugged in. So,
Is that somebody actually answered that?
No, that is the answer.
That is the answer.
And someone did and eventually answer it, but they're still waiting for a variety of reasons. There's, pieces of equipment that just that Unitil, I think, has to get that just are so delayed. And there's nothing you can do to like speed it up. That's just ever since COVID, like things are delayed and,
Wow.
yeah, so.
But right, like a follow through so that
Yeah.
it's not just like, because sometimes things don't happen the way that
Yeah.
we anticipate.
Yeah.
Like the sewer siphon.
Under the
Right.
river.
Right. And I think we actually did a really good job of explaining, like, this is why, this is the money that we're using, this is why we're still doing it.
Yeah.
This is why the parkway's closed, like
Yeah.
all of those things. But I also don't think that we do a good job following up to say, like, you remember that thing?
That study until like we're
Right.
pulling the trigger on it.
Right. And then we're like, oh, no, but we told you about it. But people are like, well, yeah, but I also have a life. And I
was looking through our archives in Exeter TV, and I basically found like a presentation that the planning department was making about redoing the bandstand intersection, and like it was a super long presentation, and like none of those changes were made, at least like that I can see. So like that was like in 2005 or something, like really long time ago. So it's all the studies and stuff, like where did they go? And
Was that a traffic flow study?
yeah, it was one of the ones where like adding medians and things and like bollards around the bandstand and all this
really?
kind of stuff. And it was like funny to me seeing, because like we're having those discussions now about with the most recent study about the bandstand intersection and reconfiguring it. So like those new ideas are not
New.
I mean, this one is a new iteration on it, but like the discussions are not new. They're like still evolving and with time, and so pulling back on that like knowledge and experience of all the different stuff that's happened to get to where we are, or something like that. Yeah, I can definitely.
I took a trip to the Larry Lane well and facility. I was pretty impressed, and I brought my camera and I told him I was going to. He wouldn't allow himself to be interviewed on camera at all, Mike.
Mhm.
But boy, he was excellent at explaining all the equipment and how it works, and it was a great session. Our church actually, it was the impetus of this. We have a social justice committee at the UU Church, and we're having a forest and water and climate change focus. And so that was the water. We're doing a lot of stuff with water and with forest. And I called the day that was Mr. Roy's last day on the job down at the other facility.
Mhm.
And I had met with him numerous times in the past.
Yeah.
But, and Mike said, well, maybe he'll agree to be on camera. So I might set that up.
Should we discuss meeting times, Martha?
Well, I just wanted to circle around and close this question about the meetings and the plan. Are you suggesting that what we do, instead of working on picking up these draft town plans that Bob and I looked at 2 years ago, I don't know if you ever saw them, and putting those in place, that we take some iteration of what you were just talking about and make that our communications plan?
I think yes, because I think that if we are stuck in the minutia of how do we disseminate information, then we are not thinking strategically about what kind of information and doing it in real time. That is not to say that, Bob, you're not constantly creating, but I think that if we can take more the focus of, okay, do we, have a paper that we circulate? Like, what I would be most interested in, because I think the communications landscape is really evolving, is to be thinking about the themes and who we want as spokespeople and who, like, what kind of information we want to gather, so that we're not missing out on those kind of opportunities. And it will become evident, I think, what's possible and what isn't.
Have you put any of this in writing at all?
No.
Well, maybe what we can do is like listen to the tape of this and then put it in writing, and I can mess around and put it in an essay.
That would
Because
be,
what I'm thinking about is that we would use what Molly's talking about as a draft of a communications plan and get buy-in from the select board to adopt that as the communications plan.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to get buy-in on marking up something like what we were talking about before. That's just what's occurring to me as I've been sitting here thinking about this.
I mean, and this is a group, like, I'm one person, you know, so this is how I'm thinking about it, but if that makes sense.
I like the idea. I mean, I think we need to think about it a little bit and figure out how we would put that into some kind of a workable framework that Bob and the staff could work with on a practical level, and that the select board and the town manager's office could also buy into.
And I think it's really driven by the priorities of the budget, which is always, like, that's our priorities. And so as we're thinking about it, then we think about, okay, well, what are the things that we need to talk about? What are the things that we need to show are working or show are not working, right? Like, that's the other piece. And how do you tell the story?
Okay. Well, if I commit to try to draft something up, you're gonna have to commit to reading it.
I will
marking
commit to
it up.
read. I will commit to.
Okay. Okay.
Stories are always critical.
Any other commentary on that? Before I regret having agreed to do that.
Well, it's only been an hour and a half, so and really I only talked for 7 minutes, so it should be.
Oh, were you timing it?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Okay, doke.
Good suggestion.
Okay. One of the things that Bob suggested, and I thought was worth discussing, is talking about possibly rescheduling the meeting for during the day, which is how we initially used to meet. We used to meet in the morning when this committee first was constituted.
If there is enough time, that works for me. Like, if we can sit here and say, okay, February, so like June, you know, and then August and November, like those during the day would be fine. If it's sort of ad hoc and like we're gonna try to, you know, then that doesn't work for me because my calendar it gets too booked up.
Is daytime meeting ever a possibility for you, Herb?
It is, yeah.
Any particular days?
No, I have a lot of physical therapy appointments, but those are flexible, and
Okay.
so
I guess we could check.
You could reach out to Pam and ask her if she has recommendations on available time slots. I have a calendar, but I don't off the top of my head. I don't. Most daytime
What
things
days?
would work in here.
It depends. I can be pretty flexible.
Okay.
Like Friday's almost never good because I have to go to Concord most Fridays.
Okay.
I would prefer something Tuesday to Thursday, somewhere in the middle of the week, in case I ever did a long weekend.
yeah.
I'm flexible. I don't really care. I'm not sure.
How early could we start?
9.
Okay.
For me, I can't do before 9 usually. Is that
No, it's fine.
with you? 9. I don't know. Bob reminded me that Lisa's term is actually up this spring, so I don't know if Lisa intends to reapply to the committee or not.
I think usually Pam would reach out to people.
Okay, so she would be, I mean, because she has a business, her business as right now is closed on Monday and Tuesday, right?
I think so.
So
I'm not
we'd
sure.
have to see with
A
her.
lot of
I just don't know
downtown
what her
ones.
intentions are. She's only been able to attend one meeting, so I don't know what her intentions are, so we'd have to see. So that's a possibility, so that'll be an open issue. But if that would work better for people, that's a possibility.
Yes, if we could do them for the year,
I'm happy to schedule for the year.
that would be great, because then it's protected and I just won't schedule stuff. But if we're trying to squeeze stuff in,
I'm
It is
And
happy.
then I
very
like
hard.
the idea for the quarterly thing, and then obviously if something like came up, you
Right.
could just reach out like we did for this one
and call a
and
meeting. Yeah.
move it
Yeah.
around.
Fine, that's great. Okay, let me just see if there's anything else I had in my notes that I wanted to say to people. Nope, I think we're all set. Anybody else want to bring
Can you
anything
give a
else up?
list of our state reps from Exeter on that?
I believe you can.
It's a full moon walk, February 12th, that's soon.
It
Under
is.
community, you should go
Julie
to
Gilman.
state government info, and it actually has
Oh,
a list.
he's
Which,
wondering about the state.
I'm
state
not
reps.
sure how recent this is. I think
No,
it is after the last
yeah,
one.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I went in this recently, and
How is Concord? Is it
because the districts are always
Awful.
changing, or they
Could
seem
be
to be
worse.
always changing.
Every 10 years.
Yeah.
It could be in Washington.
I'm always confused that Exeter has its own district, then it's also in another district with other
It
towns.
could be in Washington,
So,
it would be 100
it's like-
times worse. How is Maggie handling it? I don't know.
It's pretty bad everywhere. Yeah, these are our current reps. Alexis is Democratic leader.
Flotario, right?
Yeah.
That brave woman.
Did you hear about Gabby's son?
Hear about what?
Gabby.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
let's-
discuss that. I'll put it in the meeting probably.
Oh.
But yeah, you can find that info here. I would preface this because this is updated when someone tells me there's something not correct on there.
Oh,
So that's
yes,
why I
there
put-
is.
You just go to the state's website and they will keep theirs up to date.
And
So
we have a
make-
new governor
We do, yeah. So
Oh,
there we go.
that's
Another
a
thing
good
we're gonna do
idea.
tomorrow.
from
But yeah, that's for
Nashville.
like that's
No,
just
let's leave it.
yeah. This identifies one of the things just with the website. There's just so much stuff that unless people point it out, there's some stuff will be stale. But
Okay,
yeah.
is there any other business for this committee in particular
I
that
think so.
anyone would like to raise? Herb, any other business?
No.
Any other business? Mr. Glowacki, no other
Nope,
business?
Nothing for me.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried.
There you go. We're adjourned.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.